Anand from saying okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
mute button you guys have. Over to you, Gagan. Cross 50.
Oh, 54. सही है. Chalo, good day. So thank you everyone for coming and especially the panelists. I think as I told in the beginning, Aviral को मैं personally नहीं जानता, but I'm following him from last almost 2.5-3 years. And जब मुझे पहली बार दिखा कि यार, तो मैंने कहा यार बॉस ये तो बहुत अच्छा लिखता है. I told Apurva कि why don't you write something like this? And then I started following him. So I think big fan of what Aviral has been doing from long time, and now he has, I think, productized. He will tell us more about what he's been doing and like how he's creating this content machine. आनंद ने थोड़ा क्रिटिकली बोला, बट मुझे कुछ कंटेंट अच्छा लगता है अविरल का. सो
थैंक यू भाई. आनंद आप देखो रिटेंशन
नहीं अभी तो बस
2.5 years.
Nearest competitor. We are no longer friends. I didn't know this.
So interestingly, I didn't know कि अविरल and Pratik and me all three are from the same college. मतलब अविरल का मुझे नहीं पता था. Obviously Pratik and I are both from the same college, but it is good. हम तीनों के तीनों IIT बॉम्बे का झंडा फहरा रहे हैं. And सही है. So we have Pratik. I think Pratik को तो again everyone knows here, but small intro from my side. I think if I have to say him, he's the guy who is most loved among the founders. Like each and every founder who has interacted with him, he leaves a very good impression on them. I think, which is one of the strong way to create a brand, which is the agenda of today's session. So I think everyone should know this. I think like he has reached out to me multiple times for helping someone else who is not his portfolio or maybe just trying to help people. So he goes beyond the limit to do that. So I think this is something which is important for me to tell him about, rather than baki investments. So we all know Pratik has done a lot of great investments, both in terms of actively investing or scouting deals for Nexus. Jaldi unicorn ka board dikhega. I'm hopeful. So yeah, that's it. I think I think I've been given a instruction ki I have to speak less and let both Pratik and Aviral talk more. And starting with Aviral's presentation on this agenda, and then we'll go.
से टेक बनवा दी प्रतीक आप, मतलब
So, but I think I've seen previous sessions also on this anti-dilution. I think in this particular session, after this Aviral's presentation, there are a few questions which Shruti and Apurva want to ask. But iske alawa, I think all of you, I think feel free to ask. It's a, I think, relevant topic. We have discussed internally also a couple of times between our team member and especially the junior team member. I think all of you, if so, I think let's keep it as interactive as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Chalo, over to you, boss. Aviral.
Okay. I can share my screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. 1 second.
See the dedication of Sarthak. He's walking and taking the session. Good.
time constraint.
No, good.
Chaliye. So I'm not calling it building a personal brand. It's scaling yourself, and I'll end with why it's important. So personal brands are a myth. I love this Onion article about building personal brands. Pathetic man says I'm a brand. And my thought process here is it's very difficult as a person to be like flawless. You will have to be authentic. You'll probably contradict yourself many times. You'll do clickbaity stuff like driving traffic to your blog, like Anand mentioned. But in essence, just share your stories, try to help people, and I'll go into that. I think what you should instead do is chase mythical unicorns and not build a personal brand. So what's sustainable and what's unsustainable in this process? And what I found is if you're helping people doing what you love and creating beyond yourself, a junior VC is that it's beyond me personally and a group of other people. This is something that you can, keep doing, and helping people, I think, is the best thing that you can do. What I find unsustainable is getting continuous traction, becoming famous, and building a personal brand. I don't think that's possible. And I'll talk about, how this process has evolved. What are the things that have gone in to do this. So I think the first thing is storytelling is not equal to content. Uh, a lot of people ask me, how do you generate so much content? I don't generate so much content. I share stories that I experience on a daily basis, either as a VC or in my life. And that makes it a lot easier. So when you're telling authentic stories in, whichever format, Twitter, LinkedIn, Quora, YouTube, whatever, you're able to do this much better. So the first thing is, don't think about content, because, I think people have a negative view of it. That's one. Second is you'll never find content anywhere, but you'll find stories everywhere. So that's number one. Number two is when people start trying to, scale themselves, they try to do a lot of things, talk about hundreds of things. I believe that you should be very good at a niche and just dominate it. I found this gap in venture, because there were no VCs who were actually telling stories about what happens in venture, and just kept building on that niche. So focus on a niche and go really as deep as possible. There's no secret sauce to this, but if you are consistent, that's how it compounds. So the way you build this is just be very regular. When I started writing on LinkedIn, I was doing 2-3 high quality posts every week. Now I do more because able to cross post with Twitter and other such things. But in general, it follows the path of compounding, and in the first year it might seem really small, but in the last 12 months, I think, I've added 60-70,000 followers, right? So first year it took 12, then 50, then 90, and it's just kept growing. And I think the way you build this out is just being regular. It's very, very hard to do that. But if you're regular, it just pays dividends over time. The other is distribution is everything. So, once you build distribution on one platform, you can just start scaling elsewhere. So after LinkedIn, I've started very recently on Twitter. And, once you have built that storytelling engine, when you are sharing, whatever you are experiencing, you can do it on another platform as well. And I think Twitter is picking up. I took some time to understand what the challenges are and what the constraints are, because Twitter is a very different platform, but in essence, it's still storytelling in that constraint. Now, out of this, started a junior VC. So what we are trying to do is democratize startups. It's a complete passion project that 24 folks along with me, different backgrounds, design, tech, consulting, PMs, VCs across Europe, North America, Asia, Australia, bunch of very different people who are all interested in India and Southeast Asia tech now. Really focused on quality over quantity, and that's been the mantra over time as well. One piece every 2 weeks at scale. We're getting 120,000 monthly hits, and we've had 1 million unique readers from tech in India. Very high love, and we've built out products. So how I see it is social capital has built a junior VC. You have a distribution platform now, and then you can plug in products that are related to startups and tech on it. So we have stories, podcasts, concepts, Southeast Asia, essays, and we're building out a bunch of other things. Essentially, it's a distribution platform with people building products for startups and tech. Now, where this has helped in the day job is that it's allowed me to personally scale. Sourcing has become almost like an inbound process entirely, very little outbound. And why that happens is a lot of people just come across what I've shared and they reach out. The other thing is when I want to get connected to founders, it becomes very easy because they must have heard of something I may have written or a junior VC has written. Due to this, there have been like a lot of strong relationships I built across the ecosystem with founders as well as other VCs. And I'm very early in the game. So I think this has been very helpful in building that kind of network. A lot of founders want to partner because of this differentiated value proposition. It helps a lot in things that are portfolio related. A large network is helpful in hiring strategy, building relationships. And this in general just ends up helping a lot in venture because I actually think that VC is more like a sales and marketing job and less like a finance job. And when you have conviction and you're able to scale seed, this kind of network really helps. That was my presentation. Just wanted to share this and hopefully we can have conversation on this.
Good. I think
Guys, any questions to Aviral? Apurva and I have a few questions for all three, but we can probably take a minute or two if anything specific to Aviral on anything he just spoke about.
Yeah, I had a question. Hello.
Yes, Satak, we can hear you.
Yeah, so Aviral, just on the story, right? I mean, typically, what's again, would love your thoughts on this. Is that so? Say we pick up a certain thread. So say if I'm working on a particular point of view or something, and then we say break that itself into maybe 3 or 4 months long content, right? So just tactically asking that, how do you basically implement a story? How does that happen, right? I mean, typically, my thinking is one story you have to, or one point of view, I thought you break it down across maybe 1 or 2 months and then just distribute it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so I'm guessing you're talking about like the longer stories on a junior VC. So we plan like in advance, generally like 2-3 months, right? We have a list of companies we want to talk about or trends we want to talk about, and we put it out there. Basis like if somebody has news or there's some impending fundraise, we move it around, but in general, that's how it works. And we do one piece every 2 weeks. So 2 weeks before we align on a storyline, there are 3 people who pick up the pieces. One person is an editor, and then I look at it on an overall basis. So, that helps in basically like scaling this. When I started, it was just me doing everything. And 3 of the authors, they pick up 3 sections each. So we have 9 sections. We structure every story as literally like a story from start till today. And I found that people really like that timeline, following that timeline a lot. And why I think it's very helpful is because, one of my founder friends, he before starting up, he said that I don't think I can like build a large business because I'm looking at XYZ founder and they are so amazing. I'm like, do you know what they were like 7 years ago? And the answer was no. So we want to get that story to people, like what did, Vidit and Misho do when he was starting out versus what Vidit is today. So I think that, building out that storyline, working with a team, dividing it amongst us, it's helped make this scalable. And we do it in a rotation inside the team. So there are a few folks who write stories and we keep rotating so that, everyone gets coverage and nobody goes crazy because they have their jobs. But yeah, a lot of thought goes into it. We align before and we try to, build out the visuals, the whole story over 2 weeks.
So I have, sorry, go ahead. I have a question here. There are many people.
One speaking.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So there are a lot of people who are kind of taking that strategy, right? Aviral, right? A lot of people are kind of building out content today. They are also kind of following the story path, right? So how do you kind of, first question was, how do you kind of differentiate yourself then? That's my first question. And second thing is the community that you have kind of built out, right? What did it, I mean, what was again the storyline there? How did you kind of, how did that kind of come about?
So differentiation is, I think there are very few people who are inside the ecosystem and who can look at it from the outside, right? If you look at the other publications that are there, a lot of people mostly are journalists who are taking this story path versus like a VC or a founder, right? And we have that kind of mix internally. So I think the view and opinion that we have is different. The other thing is, having written so much, the way to articulate an insight and see an insight is different, and that also compounds, right? We can go back, call back, and look at our previous pieces. So I think that has helped a lot in terms of differentiating, and we've like picked that niche and we are there, right? In terms of community, actually, that's a very interesting question. I did not know how to build a community. We did not know how to build a community. We have a 7,000 plus now Slack channel. When we started initially, it was just like a lot of people were saying that we are AGVC subscribers, we want to get together, we want to chat, can you help us do that? So we started with like a small experiment, and we kept it really small for I think 5-6 months before opening it up to everyone, until we understood that this is what works. And one very intuitive insight I got, which I didn't really realize in the beginning, was that people want to join communities to meet like-minded people, right? I mean, it's obvious in hindsight, but that time I was like, kya ho raha hai, right? So we would, people would post something and then there would be not too much engagement. But then we posted about some coffee chat, that we'll enable a coffee chat between people. And that form closed in 3 minutes, which meant like there were like 40 people online at that time, right? So creators are very few in communities, which is the biggest problem, right? Like you'll see on Twitter, very few people post, almost everybody reads. So in the community, the biggest problem is, how do you get people to create and share, and they feel like safe about it? So we built all these multiple products, like we have AMAs, we have podcasts, we have coffee chat sessions, and a bunch of other things, and all focused on startups and tech in India. So that's how it's got built, and I think it's vibrant and active. We host an AMA every Sunday from folks in the ecosystem. So that's that journey, and it's been good.
So sorry, if I might add a bit. So just giving some context here, I think what Aviral shared in the deck, I would say that perhaps people who have not done it might not see the magic behind it. I'm not kidding. Everything that he said, I have done it, and it was done all intuitively. And what he is like, the small points that he said, if you don't like, once you do it, then only you realize the beauty of it. So I think the core point that he mentioned, which I think not many people here are talking about to begin with, was that you have to be authentic to who you are, and you do not have to go behind traffic. And I'll just share one small story, and I loved what Aviral shared, just because I did it first in a very different context. So when I was in college, I was just super interested in maths, and I wanted to solve puzzles. I actually solved more puzzles. Like I would miss classes and solve puzzles. At some point in time, I said, well, I'm solving a lot of puzzles. I just want to collect it. If I'm solving 100 puzzles, I just want to collect the 5 puzzles I'm liking. So I used to copy paste it in Microsoft Word and keep it with myself. And I said, why am I keeping it here? It's just inconvenient. Some people might want it. I want to tell this to the world, because when I would go for dinner in hostel, I would talk about those puzzles there. I said, I would just want to post about it. And if someone wants to read it, someone should read it. So I started writing a math blog. where it was not, I was not the smartest guy out there. It was just my passion, कि my intent to help people. कि मैं तो solve कर ही रहा हूँ, दूसरों को share कर देता हूँ. It so happened that the puzzle blog started growing. After 1 year, everyone in the college was using it. People were joking कि हम लोग out होके maths blog solve करते हैं तेरा. Everyone who is interviewing was going through that. So Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, everyone who was interviewing was looking at the puzzle blog. बीच में फिर top 10 math blogs of the world में आ गया. फिर बीच में like many Olympiad gold medalists, many professors from Stanford, etc. were posting there. Many PhD, over time, I of course became less smart because I was not doing these things as often. While people who went for PhDs, those guys were commenting on each other. I still meet people who say, "Tu Pratik Budar CSE blog वाले हो क्या?" So brand बना, और brand इसलिए नहीं बना कि बहुत smart था, या brand इसलिए नहीं बना कि मैंने किसी को बहुत help करने की कोशिश की. Brand इसलिए बना in my mind because I was just true to myself and I was genuinely trying to help people. If you think about it, Aviral was just doing that. He did not want to be, he did not try and be super smart. He did not try and be super successful. Like he was just writing stuff that he was thinking. So these are the questions that you asked about. Differentiate कैसे करोगे? Authenticity is the differentiation. Like that's the reality. So when in the beginning of the conversation, Anand said कि अब चाइना के बारे में पोस्ट नहीं करते, पहले करते. I genuinely wanted to share because I thought that जो मैं सीखता हूँ चाइना वालों से बात करके, वो सबको नहीं पता. मुझे genuinely अच्छा लगता था लोगों को सिखाना. अब मुझे genuinely अच्छा लगता था कि मैं किसी से मिलूंगा और ये बताऊंगा कि देखो इस प्रोडक्ट में ऐसा होता है. मुझे genuinely अच्छा लगता था नए प्रोडक्ट्स देखना. शेयर कर दो वहाँ पे. मुझे लगता था मैं बहुत कुछ पढ़ाई कर रहा हूँ जिसमें जो अच्छा लगता है वो शेयर कर देता हूँ. शेयर कर रहा हूँ, धीरे-धीरे फॉलोइंग बनती जा रही है. So a lot of it is, I think beginning is authenticity, nothing else. And if you're authentic to yourself, and like it's so funny, Aviral ने फटाफट बोल दिया छोटी-छोटी चीजें, but it actually means being vulnerable.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
when you post your thoughts out there.
Yeah. Because you're all the time judged, basically, right? You're being judged for everything that you're putting out there.
Exactly. So,
and are you open to getting those
exactly.
feedbacks as well? Absolutely.
Exactly. और judgment हटा ही दो भाई. लोग जज करने करने दो. किसी ने गाली दी क्या फर्क पड़ता है? So when you remove that ego layer, suddenly you start, and again the intent is only to help. If your intent is to help and you remove the ego layer, then it's actually beautiful that natural community creation starts happening because people want to associate with value creators. The only two things I would want to add to what Aviral said. One is, like in any party, people don't want to be associated with people who are sobbing a lot. So that is one. That even if you believe that the market is screwed up, even if you believe you are crying, like everything is bad, you like negativity people avoid. So at least from community building perspective, I realized that I would filter my posts. कि अगर मुझे किसी के बारे में बुराई करनी है नहीं करूँगा, बहुत बुराई करनी है. Because I realized that authenticity does not help because no one wants to be associated with
Pratik, I will debate on this. When you began with saying कि authentic होना चाहिए, right? So if you think that something is not right, okay, and you want to share your view, and the aim is not to get followers, the aim is not to create a personal brand. If that happens, it's good. And if you are authentic and if actually there is originality in that, and then तुम share करो ना उसको भी, like why not
मैं बताता हूँ गगन. हाँ, मैं so I thought about it. देखिए गगन, अगर मुझे ये बोलना है, मान लीजिए, so there are two types of negative things. One which is actionable, one which is just armchair remark. तो अगर मुझे ये बोलना है कि इंडियन एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को ESOPs में ये इंप्रूवमेंट करना चाहिए, दिस इज अ नेगेटिव थिंग, हैप्पी टू पोस्ट अबाउट इट. बट अगर मुझे ये, क्योंकि इसमें एक्शन है, इसमें एक्शनेबल आंसर है एंड द इंटेंट इज ओनली टू हेल्प. बट अगर मुझे ये बोलना है कि गगन को ऐसे बात नहीं करनी चाहिए, या ये कंपनी ने ये गलत किया, किसी कंपनी का नाम लेके ये कंपनी ने गलत किया, दैट इज जस्ट पॉइंटिंग फिंगर्स with no intent to help. So I think that intent to help is the key thing here. So जो
10 कंपनियां गलत करती है, and when you can say कि यार 10 कंपनियां गलत करती है, मार्केट में GMV बढ़ाने का कल्चर चल रहा है, suppose if that
वो मैं बोलूंगा. वो मैं बोलूंगा because वो intent to help है कि ecosystem should not be talking about this metric. But me telling कि एक कंपनी का नाम ले लेते हैं किसी का भी अपनी कंपनी का नाम लेता हूं ताकि अच्छा ताकि me telling कि हाँ me telling कि स्नैपडील ने ये गलत किया, अब ये बोलना गलत है because that is not there to help that company at all. So intent to help is my filter. If the intent is to help, then it's happy. Otherwise, circular loop में मार खाएंगे.
Yeah,
So that is one thing I would add to Aviral. The second thing I would add from an actionable perspective, I think one content piece can be adjusted into multiple formats. तो जो अविरल ने बोला लिंक्डइन वाला ट्विटर पे जाता है, मैं उसको और उसको एक्सटेंड करता हूँ कि मैं तो वेबिनार को भी ट्वीट थ्रेड्स में भी डाल दूंगा, एक पोस्ट में भी डाल दूंगा, फोटो भी डाल दूंगा. तो इट्स बिकॉज कितना कंटेंट डेली क्रिएट करेंगे, बट वन कंटेंट पीस कैन बी रीफॉर्मुलेटेड एंड दैट इज एन इजी हैक to get content created. But that's it. I think everything Aviral said, I would want to take screenshot of that, because once all of you guys try doing the stuff he said, after 2 years you realize that he said that, and that was beautiful. So being vulnerable is very, very difficult. Being consistent is very, very difficult. I say this often, getting 10,000 followers on any platform, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, like 10,000 is a number. जो भी 10,000 ले आता है उसको पता होता है कि consistency is there.
Yeah.
Because बहुत मेहनत करनी पड़ती है. That's sorry.
Thank you, PP. Like thanks a lot. And I'm just going to add a few more things. The vulnerability thing is a great point, and I didn't talk about it, but I'm being very vulnerable, right, when I share. And like when I started writing, जनता troll करने के लिए पहुंच जाती है. मतलब they're like there the moment you write anything, and they just want to take a position against you, right? So I think I've developed a thick skin. I've developed like an ability to handle this. And I think the final thing, and Pratik, like you can add, sorry, I just need to.
I think
yeah, Gagan.
Yeah, Purva, you want to maybe start with the particular?
Yeah.
I can add, because we'll keep adding if.
No, I think we can start with the questions. Maybe we also have prepared a few questions. And sorry, I'll keep my video off because I didn't prepare for power cut in Bangalore. So yeah, but few questions. Pratik, since you're here, we all know that Aviral is big in long form content in blogs, etc. And you have been creating a brand on Twitter, and Gagan has also been very active on Twitter, and lately very active on LinkedIn also. So just want to understand, how do you pick these platforms? And for the people, for the analysts and associates here who want to start building a brand, how do they choose a platform? And what kind of content should they get into? What is easy? What's difficult? Just want to understand from you all.
So maybe I'll start here again. I'm never thinking about platform first.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the superpower I had? I was reading a lot, and I wanted the world to know what I am reading. Twitter was the ideal platform for that, because link sharing does not happen on any other platform. However, like, of course, people here know me for Twitter, but I don't think of myself as a Twitter guy, because again, so I'll tell you, like there's a blog post I had written on how to measure retention. So every 15 days, some entrepreneur who reaches out to me says कि वो blog post के कारण बात कर रहा हूँ. So why was that blog post written? It was a lot of work. It took me 15-20 days. I don't write a lot, but why was that blog post written? Every second day, an entrepreneur will come and define retention wrong. And every second day I will explain कि देखो नहीं ये गलत कर रहे हो, ऐसे नहीं सोचना चाहिए, ऐसे सोचो, ये metric better है measure करने के लिए. The intent was only to help कि यार ये जो हर entrepreneur अगर एक ही गलती कर रहा है और मुझे किसी entrepreneur ने सिखा दिया है, तो जिन entrepreneurs में मैं काम कर रहा हूँ उन्होंने सिखा दिया है कि ये this is the right way to look at it. Let me just say it out to the world. Let me try and help the system that they should not be measuring wrong retention or communicating wrong retention, because it just spoils the ecosystem. तो blog post लिख दिया, and that was received very well. तो I don't think that मैं Twitter पे हूँ, मैं तो हर जगह हूँ, मतलब Instagram पे नहीं हूँ because समझ में नहीं आता, but beyond Instagram I'm everywhere because I'm just trying to help and define. I'm there on a lot of podcasts as well. I don't publish on we don't have a platform ourselves, but I do a lot of podcasts, and the intent was only to communicate कि मैं कैसे सोच रहा हूँ एजुकेशन के बारे में, मैं कैसे सोच रहा हूँ कंटेंट के बारे में, ताकि सही लोग मेरे पास आए. I think it's platform independent. So in the beginning of the conversation, people were talking about platform. I don't think it's about the platform. Pick your niche, which you are really, really passionate about, which you really want to talk about, and just talk about it. Do not care what the world is thinking.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I have the exact opposite view. Platforms are very important, and I'll tell you why. Some platforms are very flexible. Twitter is the hardest because you have to articulate in very limited words what you want to say, right? And there's a funnel. So if you look at AJVC's funnel, it's social media, then it's the website, then it's the newsletter, then it's the community, right? And if I would start something like this, I would start from the top because the funnel is the largest there. You'll get the maximum distribution first. And why that is important is because you get to, the best thing about social is that you get very instant feedback. It's so fast, it's like, it's crazy. And the bigger you get, the faster you get feedback. So I would actually pick a long form platform where you can articulate with some more ability to share thoughts, right? Like I found it Twitter very constraining when I started. Now I'm able to do it, but in the beginning I was like very used to writing longer stuff because nuance Twitter pe nahi hai. Matlab it's a non-nuance platform unless you have like threads. So like I started Quora, then went to LinkedIn, then went to Twitter, and as you can see, it's been shortening of the format. But there are some formats that are very difficult, right? So I would actually think about going to a distribution platform that has a large audience, as well as the flexibility to make mistakes, share more, and things like that. Generally, blogs are very good, but they don't have distribution. And Medium is kind of so-so. So I would like pick LinkedIn.
I also want to add a third dimension to this, which is about content types, right? I mean, of course, we just think it's either a tweet or a blog, but
Right.
Praveen Jadhav, for example, uses memes very well, movie memes, right? It's a different kind of content. Kushal, we should get Kushal also someday very soon here. Kushal uses videos, right? And he has a YouTube channel of explaining concepts, right? And it's sort of but his tweets are also filled with short videos and then takes you to the YouTube channel, right?
Correct.
They're different format. What I am yet to see and some of the other people like Strategy, etc. have done is about data, right? So you tweet data, right? Data and charts. Nobody's done that in India so far. I mean, not too many people doing data and charts. I feel there are multiple formats also within Twitter, within LinkedIn. You can pick these. But थोड़ा innovation नहीं है. Podcast बहुत कम है. In fact, we don't have personal podcasts in India. Most of the podcasts are like VC Corp Dev budget, right? I mean, it's not personal podcast. Right? So nobody's really done personal podcast. So I think there are some formats which probably you can sort of use Twitter to talk about your podcast, for example. But I mean, podcasts are very easy, and I think anybody in the group can start. Data is very easy actually. आजकल काफी data available है. But mostly nobody's really built a brand around data. On maybe LinkedIn data will be great. Even Twitter data will be great. Maybe you don't want to write a blog but charts will fly both on Twitter and LinkedIn, right?
Correct.
So you can think on that axis also.
Correct. No, I agree. And so I'll just tie in what PP mentioned. He made a great point that when you're a storyteller, you can talk on any platform and any format, which I agree with. But what is difficult and what Anand mentioned is each platform has its constraints. And maybe you're not very good at telling a story in those constraints, right? Instagram is images, storytelling, or now Reels. TikTok is video, YouTube is video, Twitter is short text, LinkedIn is long text, right? So you need to pick the storytelling format as well as the story that you're telling. And I think it's important to take something where you can like experiment more. I mean, that would be
the way I will put it यार, मतलब I will tell you very frankly कि मैं 4 साल पहले VC में आया formally. और frankly मेरे लिए एक थोड़ा सा shocking था कि यार मतलब I have to run the race and obviously whatever India question का brand है is not sufficient enough. I have to bring more deal flow to my side and so actually I actively thought about क्या कुछ करना पड़ेगा brand बनाने के लिए. तो मैंने and being an entrepreneur for 10 years, I had my views like how entrepreneurs look at VC, and since I changed the head, so I could now understand how VC looks at entrepreneur. तो मैंने कुछ blog लिखना चालू करा as a straightforward, which you said कि यार long form content लिखो, मैंने Medium पे लिखा. And what my learning was that कि एक article लिखने में for a person like me who's very poor in writing and very like bad writing skills also, like grammar and all, but still I was able to manage to write one article in a day, like 4-5 hours if I spend. So like, and but that inertia to write was very high. Like I used to take एक महीने के बाद सोचता था कि नेक्स्ट मंथ लिखना है, और नेक्स्ट मंथ में भी एंड ऑफ द मंथ में जाके लिखता था. एंड I wrote and I did that for 3-4 articles and I took like a year. So 2017 later I started this, and 2017 later and 2018 I wrote 3-4 articles and built some followership through that, like by posting that article on multiple platform. And it really helped, like as Pratik said ki his metrics article, same way my first article was like Golimar VC ko, like why you should not raise money from VC. That was the first article I wrote, and I shared my view that which businesses should not raise. But later on somehow I realized that a lot of people are on Twitter and like Twitter pe ho sakta hai, and it was tough, you are right. But then I started writing on Twitter. Some people were very good in threads. I thought that I can do that. I tried doing that. Somehow I could not get my handle on it. And as both of you said, ki yaar, just write what you want to write. Okay, that is very important skill, I think, is a takeaway. I think I will also say for everyone ki just be authentic and just write for what you want to write. Okay, and then uska outcome जो आता है वो आएगा. Like for me, obviously I want to create brand, but then brand को focus करने के लिए मैंने नहीं लिखा था. Like the view था, but brand was maybe outcome I wanted, but I was writing because I wanted to write. I had on the topic, at least I was believing in. Then suddenly what I realized that the discussion which I was doing, because in 2.5 years I met so many founders, I saw much about venture world, I had portfolio founders, I interacted with a lot of VCs. So I started building some viewpoints, and like जो हमारी discussion होता है, maybe I will talk to Pratik or maybe I will talk to Anand today, and maybe we'll debate on some topic. And then I realized कि उस topic का कोई भी point मुझे जो meaningful लगा उसको tweet कर देता हूँ. तो most of my at least recent 6-8 months, 10 months tweets, if you see, are actually, so this is a natural content, like जो अपन discussion कर रहे हैं, debate कर रहे हैं, and some of the debatable point.
या मैं यही बोल रहा था, मतलब stories are everywhere, right? आप तो articulate कर रहे हो. This, sorry, I interjected, but
right. So content subject है, तो मतलब I think so the way I will sum up this कि यार obviously you have to be fearless. डर के आगे जीत है. Just लिखो, don't worry about कौन क्या बोलेगा सोचेगा, and just write what you feel like writing. These are the two things which Aviral and both Pratik said. And third, pick the platform, pick the type, what you are comfortable with, and just do it. And once you do it, you can see the power of like the social media and network and compounding, and it will start working. And someone mentioned, and Anand is right, like Grammarly. So by the way, I use Grammarly now. Okay, so I use Grammarly actively. You can use various tools to maybe solve some of the problems in terms of like content को कैसे correct करना है या क्या करना है. But I think so like Aviral find Twitter difficult, but I don't find it difficult. In fact, I find that is easier because छोटा conversation है on maybe a view on something like कि यार GMB work करता है, या कोई metrics के ऊपर है, या कोई company के बारे में बोलना है, या कोई discussion है, या कोई observation है, personal observation है. You can just write. Obviously, you have to limit that in 256 words. That sometimes become challenging, but you can write if you think about writing. And this is a natural content which we discuss, right? It's a new, कुछ नया नहीं है. But so it's a point of view which I try to share. Which so I think pick what works for you. Story, article, form of content, data point, but start writing, I think, and it is helpful. It is helpful not from the brand angle. It is helpful from synthesizing the knowledge, which we all say. So I think there is a value in it.
One small point I would add, Gagan, and completely agree. So I have actually started multiple things and left it as well. तो मैंने podcast चालू किया, बीच में छोड़ दिया, समझ में नहीं आया. Newsletter चालू किया. Newsletter is too much work for me. So if it's too much work for me, then I'll never continue it forever. फिर सोचा जो like blog articles I'll write every 15 days. It's too much work. So if it's too much work, unsustainable. At least for me, like I'm not hardworking that way, right? For this use case. So like Anand gave a perfect example. कि data driven कोई नहीं है. So I earlier tried to do it in one sector, I could not do it. Hopefully, almost surely I'll do it now. And why I'll be able to do it is that for the first time ever in the past 7-8 years, I have started reading research reports, because I've just gotten now genuinely interested in what is happening with Uber, what is happening with Lyft. So many companies are getting listed. I genuinely want to learn about them. And when I'm reading about them, I actually want to share. I actually want to share how Bilibili is actually growing faster than Kuaishou, and it will be a problem for Kuaishou. And I read that in a Morgan Stanley report. I actually want to share that graph and share these 3 lines with the world, because I genuinely think it's an interesting thing to share. So if I started by saying I want to read to share and create a brand, I don't think it's worth it, because it's a lot of work. Naturally पढ़ रहा हूँ तो बहुत बढ़िया है. Naturally पढ़ रहा हूँ, बीच में स्क्रीनशॉट लेके डालते रहो, मजा आ जाता है.
Pratik, just one question here. ये मतलब जो आप बोल रहे हो ना, like I understand. So every day you come across some content which excites you, right? Now it may not form a story, right? I mean, आप डाल दोगे Twitter, like at least that's what I tend to do. I put something on Twitter which I actually find really exciting, but उससे आपको story नहीं बनेगा, right? I mean, again, I know थोड़ा सा technical कर रहा हूँ, but just wanted your feedback on that.
Yeah, what do you mean by story? Because my intent was to just share this interesting tidbit with you. And
So
I shared that.
I will answer this. मैं प्रतीक को follow करता हूँ. Lot of those Pratik tweets are like this कि उसने एक article पढ़ा और एक उसका heading लिख के ही डाल दिया. But sometimes that is meaningful for me if that topic I like. So suppose maybe something on Lyft he is studying, and if I want to read that. So everyone doesn't want a whole story or a view. किसी को वो article मतलब मेरे लिए वो Pratik is helping me curating great articles. So that tweet by Pratik helps me consume some content. And that's why maybe I follow him.
So मुझे बहुत लोग बोलते हैं इससे ये तो तू लिंक डाल देता है, इसमें अपने थॉट्स भी डाला कर. अरे सारे में अपने थॉट्स नहीं है, जहां अपने थॉट्स मैं डालता हूँ, जहां नहीं है नहीं डालूंगा, क्योंकि मेरा इंटेंट तो बस ये शेयर करना था. ये आर्टिकल मुझे कूल लगा, तुमको भी कूल लगेगा, देख लो भाई.
Correct.
मैं थोड़ा डिफरेंट करता हूँ इसको.
You work hard. So Aviral, you work hard.
So I add now Pratik, the thing is work hard over 7-8 years. Now I don't need to, right? So I think I can think in tweets and I can think in posts. I don't know if like I'm articulating it well enough, but मुझे story दिखता है कि इसमें कहाँ story आएगा, right? Like Karan Bajaj leaving White Hat. Where's the story? What did people like about it? Obviously that ye 3 hua, but also that it was shorter than a course, right? You add some angle to it, which makes it interesting. I'm just giving this KB tweet, but in everything I try to like kind of link it to something that we feel, that I felt, that I saw, so that it becomes interesting. And I feel like people like reading stories. Obviously, I understand like where you're coming from. Effort लगता है थोड़ा, but over time, if you keep doing it, you build a knack. And it's 8 years of effort. It's not like the first post I wrote was shit. So time लगता है. I think that's also. So it's 8 years of hard work for 1 minute of putting it together.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thanks, Aviral. I have a slightly different question. So how important would you say the brand of an individual is versus the brand of the firm, to all 3 of you?
PP आप first जा रहे हो हर चीज में.
Like Aviral mentioned, yeah, तो नहीं, actually opposite to what Aviral mentioned, sorry. So people know you because you do something like this, but I don't know कि deal flow में कितना फर्क पड़ता है. Deal flow, you are just likable, right? So maybe people will react to your message first, or not be tough when you are sending them a message. But the reality is people are reaching out to Nexus, not really me. And well, there's some element of me, but people are reaching out to Nexus. तो marginal फर्क पड़ता है, दुनिया नहीं बदल रही. मतलब I think top of the mind recall रहता है लोगों को लोग भूलेंगे नहीं प्रतीक को. तो ठीक है, प्रतीक को शायद पहुंच जाए पहले. जिस एंटरप्रेन्योर से 3 साल से बात नहीं की है, वो भी ट्विटर पे देख रहा है तो उसको शायद याद रहता होगा. तो एंगेजमेंट है, सॉफ्ट एंगेजमेंट है, तो रिकॉल वैल्यू रहेगी. उसको ऐसा लगेगा वो मुझे जानता है तो मैसेज कर देगा. But I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's more connectedness, more ability to brainstorm with people, more ability to make friends than deal flow for me personally. Like, have I done any deal which got referred to me via Twitter? No. Or the founder reached out to me via Twitter? No. So
Got it.
hiring में बहुत help मिली है. So I have gotten like so many people placed in my companies because Twitter पे लोगों ने reach out किया, Twitter पे लोगों ने connect कराया, तो hiring में help मिली है. But funding, the funnel is so tight ना कि top of the funnel is so much and the number of investors are so little that I don't think it has helped at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
My view is that it's a tricky, it depend on the organization. Like there are top tier funds which has a strong brand pool. So for them, a lot of deal, anyway, most of the founders goes to them. For a small fund, or what stage of fund you are, it can differ. Then there are nowadays, like a lot of people are doing a lot of deals today. Like they are doing more than 50 deals a year. So they're, because of just sheer deal flow, they are able to create brands. So I think deal flow and personal brand are not directly connected, as Pratik said. But I think personal brand matter eventually in the end. Like at least I talk to my founders that this particular person at this particular fund is a great guy. I think if we can get him on the cap table, or whether he is evaluating your deal or not. So at least I talk to my founder in this word. So I think this does matter, or at least in long run, so definitely it will matter whatever firm you are and what stage you are. But yeah, largely deal flow itna change nahi hoga. But that is the thing.
मेरे को तो बहुत different लगता है. I think the
Yeah,
future.
you mentioned it's all inbound now, so definitely
Yeah,
want to hear about that.
So I actually think future of seed investing is media meets capital, right? And like the biggest example of it is A16Z. उन्होंने machine बना दिया उसे. And I mean, if you look at YC is exactly that, right? They started as a.
Yeah, but Aviral, मतलब simple example है, उसके सामने benchmark भी बैठा हुआ है, उनकी website नहीं है, right? Website तक नहीं है.
And go
personal brand बनाते हैं, each partner.
तो मैंने ये exactly discussion किया था benchmark में. आप benchmark के individual partners का Twitter game देखिए, it's insane. It's really good.
सही है ना, तो that's what we are talking about कि
Right.
personal brand पे करते हैं, but personal brand बनाने के लिए they are just doing their and personal brand is coming not just from the followers.
Of course.
I will tell you another great guy. In fact, I was just checking today on the same agenda के लिए. This guy called Ho Nam. I don't know how many of you know. Altos Venture वाला बंदा है. Okay, and Roblox में जिसने invest करा था, the investor behind Roblox story. So this guy had zero means 1,000 से ज़्यादा follower नहीं थे और अभी 50,000 या पता नहीं कितने हैं. So and just in 6 months he got that because he became active on that platform now. But they have done, and they don't have just one unicorn. They have multiple similar bets. So I think so remain like I think so this media style में या content creation से जो brand बनाना है, that brand has a limited value. It will bring value, but it has a limited value. The real value, if at all, it will come through your actually your जो तुमने तुम्हारे deck में भी लिखा है, right? कि यार unicorn बनाना है भाई, मतलब aim तो यही है ना?
Correct, absolutely. So I'm not saying that it's a necessary condition to get unicorns. I'm saying it's a positioning, and I feel like Venture's future will be very media led. And I'm taking A16Z and YC as examples because they built unicorns. From what I know, A16Z spent 50% of its fees on content and distribution. So I actually like that model a lot. I'm not saying that that's the only way you can make money. There's Benchmark. There's like, if you look at Tiger, they don't have a website. So there are different views. I mean, this is my view. And I think that you are able to help people at scale with this. So why did A16Z win the Clubhouse deal versus Benchmark, for example, could be this as well. So again, just my thought. I think that's how you'd scale venture in the future, at least seed.
But Avira, have you done any deal which was sourced because of content?
Yes, around 2. So, but again, it could also be because of the scale. So I don't know the answer. But yeah.
We just have a few minutes left, so maybe we can take a few questions. Rishabh, I think you had one.
Yeah, so I just posted it and I'll just give a small a brief also why I asked this question. So, Gagan, Anand, there could be, and PP and AJVC, there could be multiple, interests of a person. So how does personal brand building on social media, does it have to be concentrated only to a specific, आप एक specific niche है, आप सिर्फ उसी के बारे में post करें, almost all your post. या फिर does it make things easy to make your personal brand, or because I am genuinely interested in 3-4 things, sports हो गया, politics हो गया और startups हो गए, तो मैं चारों के बारे में ट्वीट करके भी I can create my personal brand.
यार आनंद ने आंसर दिया ना, आनंद का पॉलिटिक्स भी है और भी है और सब कुछ है, तो आई थिंक सिंपल आंसर तो यार सब पे कर सकते हो, मतलब व्हाट इंटरेस्ट यू शुड राइट ऑन दैट and have your view on that, and people will start following you if you remain authentic to your
I completely agree.
The only caveat I would have there, so like the framework, what are you truly interested in, what do you think will help people, so do that. But for example, I had this issue that I wanted to post math problems and startup stories as well, and both are really disconnected because people who want to see this don't want to see this, people who want to see this don't want to see this at all. So from my vantage point, what I did was I created multiple facets, that this facet is my startup facet, the Twitter is my startup facet. I actually have 2 blogs, one for startup and one for math, because there is no commonality between them, and unnecessarily people will leave. So if you're so at least that's my perspective, that I would keep politics, for example, separate to startup, because maybe everyone is in there, but I would not mix these two things because the overlap is very low.
Got it. And very quick question, so how much time PP, Gagan and Anand, overall, maybe because you're doing it for institutional purposes also, institution building purpose, आप ज़्यादा time spend करते होगे, but I want to understand, आप PP, Anand and Gagan, how do you spend your time? How much time do you spend per day practically on thinking about content for social media posting or things?
So I think I can answer simply, like I spend very less time on thinking what to post. Generally, whatever time goes maybe in reading and consuming, or as I said, like मेरा mostly content तो internal discussions and impromptu है. It's just that कि when I think कि अच्छा ये तो सही point है, इसको tweet करते हैं, तो maybe sometimes it take 10 minutes, sometimes it take half an hour, 1 hour, depending on if it is a thread. But yeah, earlier when I used to write the article, I used to take a day in a month to write.
Same here. I like writing an article takes a lot of time. एक दिन में भी नहीं होता, 7 दिन लग जाते हैं पूरे रोज 4-4 घंटे. लेकिन
ठीक, पता है इधर एक ट्रिक है, 4-4 घंटे नहीं होते हैं, वो अपना मेंटल इनर्शिया है. Actually you can write an article in a day.
नहीं अगर जिसमें रिसर्च करना पड़ता है, जैसे मुझे बहुत से आर्टिकल में फाउंडर से फोन करके पूछना पड़ता है क्या लिखना है. हाँ ठीक है, मैं ये लिख रहा हूँ, तू बता दे क्या लिखना चाहिए, ये सही सोच रहा हूँ ना मैं, तो उसमें टाइम लग जाता है. But tweet like zero extra time. I spend a lot of time on Twitter. I read a lot, and as soon as I read, I press tweet button. That's it. So zero time to think this is what I need to tweet today.
Got it.
Aviral, maybe you can answer this. When you were doing like 2 years back, when there was no team, how much time you used to spend?
I think the time I spend now and the time I spent then, I think cumulative similarly hai, kam nahi hua. But with the help of everyone on the team, and we are all like building out the brand together. Initially, when I used to write the essays, it would take like 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday. That's how I would spend time doing it. And a LinkedIn post, I think 20-25 minutes. Now, one thing and like Anand was asking about tools, I use Roam a lot. And actually, it's like part of my workflow. There's email, calendar, and Roam. So email tasks go onto the calendar, they come out, and then you put I put mostly everything on Roam, meetings and thoughts. So whenever I get an idea, I just tag it idea and I put it on note. And then whenever I'm thinking of posting something, I go to them and then I refine it a little bit and then I do it. So, and abhi bhi in terms of like spending time in man hours, I think because we are like a team of 5 writing one piece now versus just me. So we do a lot more work. And I think the output is better because of that. I would say like probably everyone's putting in 5-6 hours. So we do like 30 hours per piece, which is quite a bit, and it's good. But हाँ time लगता है beginning में काफी.
Great. I think we are running short of time, but probably just one last question. How do you balance between consistency and quality? Providing insights on a weekly basis is hard, so might make sense to write.
There aren't enough insights in the world to provide so many insights. So, so that's why just keep it infrequent. At least we've fundamentally everyone on the team we decided कि once in 2 weeks ही करना चाहिए क्योंकि उतना है नहीं लिखने के लिए. मतलब you'll not be able to write more than that. Like personal observations, obviously a tweet and all, वो तो आप काफी frequency से कर सकते हो. But if you're doing like an essay or something, very tough to write something regular. So that's why I said like quality over quantity. But the consistency is very important. So you need to have like, if you've decided once in 2 weeks, like Sunday 9:30 AM को newsletter जाना चाहिए. आप पहाड़ से भी लटक रहे हो, जाना चाहिए. I remember I was scampering around one day on Heathrow Airport because there were like 5 minutes left to MailChimp पे मैंने Wi-Fi ढूंढा और भेजा. But you need to do that. And then people like build a habit. Like your stories become a habit for people. So I think that's important. And just choose like a timeline which is sustainable for you, like Pratik mentioned. होना चाहिए कि आप कर सकते हो कि ये नहीं है तो मत करो, and then just stick to it. So that's my view at least. And quality over like doing it very frequently.
In the bar I would keep, because quality का बार हर आदमी का different होता है. Bar I would keep, मुझे genuinely लगता है help मिल रही है लोगों को तो करूँगा. जहाँ तक मेरा I don't want to waste everything that I am reading. I don't think it's helping. जितना मुझे लगता है करूँगा. कई बार लोग बोल देते हैं आज तो बहुत पढ़ाई कर रहा था. ठीक है, it's okay.
So Tarika has asked question about does the time of the day matter? I also don't know, but generally I avoid posting on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, so I'll share the hack here. 12:30 PM on Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays on LinkedIn, and 7:30 to 8:30 on Twitter on weekdays. Good time to post. So
Sorry.
basically think of, so I realized this, it was very strange, but people look for jobs on weekends, so they're on LinkedIn, so the audience is more. On Thursdays, I don't know, middle of the week, pe log bore ho jate hain. And Twitter, nobody generally opens in the day. It's more like news consumption and entertainment, which is why they come in the evening. So you'll see a larger uptick then. And it does matter. LinkedIn posts have a lifetime of 24 hours, and lifetime, half-life, all the engineers will know. They decay very fast, and tweets decay in 3 or 4 hours. Blog posts decay in 6 months. YouTube posts also decay in like 6 months. So
Twitter is weekday evening and LinkedIn is weekend afternoon.
Weekend afternoon and Thursday afternoon. Best times. And 12:30, you'll always see my posts coming during that time. That's the reason. वो optimize किया है based on people's availability. And that pushing at that time is important क्योंकि मैंने बताया ना आपको half life होता है उसका. So you should try to get as many people in your audience. Again, it's just hacking, nothing else. The algorithm.
Great. I think we can probably wrap up. It's been a wonderful session. Thank you so much for taking time to do this, Pratik and Aviral, and Gagan, of course, is with us. So thanks a lot, guys. I hope everyone enjoyed it. See you all next week.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right. Bye-bye.